Hi again, I'm Dr. Stacy, and we're back with the Mindful World Summit. And I'm excited today for this conversation with Afshin Tafler. Afshin is a whole life coach who helps people achieve their best health by healing the underlying emotional patterns that contribute to mind body illness. But today, she's here to talk to us about her journey as a parent, what mindfulness has done for her personally, as well as how it's been a source of strength and resiliency in her journey with her son. Her son is 10 years old. He has autism. And we're all very excited to hear about how mindfulness has been served to support your awakening through this journey with a child who has special needs. Welcome, Ashton, to the summit.
Thank you, Stacey. Thank you very much. I'm so honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, and we are so pleased that you made the time today to talk with us. So I'm wondering if we could begin by, if you wouldn't mind sharing how you came across mindfulness, this whole concept of consciousness for yourself.
Yeah, so I feel like my story where I was hit by a ton of bricks or hit by a truck, I would say, to awaken. And, you know, I was I was awoken when I first had my child. So he was very sick at the beginning, had some medical issues early on. And so I went on this whole journey of healing him. And then through that, I got sick. I hit rock bottom, was diagnosed chronic fatigue syndrome, then fibromyalgia later on. And it was a very, very stressful time. And so I really started looking into the deeper meaning of, you know, what does it mean to be truly healthy? And we were doing all the right things in terms of foods and diet and detoxing and all of that, yet we were still sick. And so it took me on a journey of really understanding, you know, what is my truth? What is my authenticity? And how can I live my purpose? And that so much about health is about what's going on in your life. So your biography becomes your biology. So I went on that journey, and part of that journey was really to tune in to myself and understand myself so much better, was meditation and mindfulness. And so, of course, you know, started off with the regular meditation practice and various different kinds of meditation practices. I tried guided meditations and sound frequency meditations and training the brain waves, and anything that would help me to relax and sort of be able to sit with the discomfort of everything that I was feeling in my body, in my life. And so I did Dr. Dan Siegel's Wheel of Awareness. That helped me a lot. Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations helped me overcome a lot of the pain that I was in, and really helped to, you know, transform myself and have a different perspective and outlook on life. And so meditation was immensely, immensely helpful for me to really understand myself, understand the different parts of me, and especially the very inner critical parts of my psyche that would rear its ugly head all the time. And so meditation helped me to become a watcher of all those parts versus be so entrenched with those parts. And so it was hugely helpful for me personally. And then as a parent, to really start to, well, first of all, personally, to start to really accept everything that I am. And then as a parent, to really start to accept everything that my child was. You know, for the longest time, I could not accept that I had a child with all these needs. He was later diagnosed, you know, autism around 2.5. And he's high functioning autism, but you know, has had all these challenges and along the way. So very, very high anxiety, super, super sensitive to energy. And so, you know, he's really, really, you know, my experience with parenting him has challenged me a lot to look within myself, to accept myself, and to really accept him and everything that he's presenting. And how can I be okay with all of this and be happy and thrive? So that was the journey I went on. instead of trying to fix him and, make him perfect and make him normal, quote unquote, I really started to learn to fully accept the beauty of everything that he brought to the table, including how much he helped me to grow within. And so really my philosophy around mindful parenting and what parenting is really all about is three things. One is that I believe our children come to us for a reason, and that they are here to teach us as much as we are there to nourish and guide them. And so that, that's a really huge one, because then, it becomes more of a gift for us as well. And for me anyways. And then, the second thing is that the things that we as parents find hardest to accept in our children are usually the things that we are having the hardest time accepting within ourselves. And so our children are really a mirror for all of the things that we've never fully healed within ourselves. And so that is really the greatest gift that they bring to us, because if we can tune in to each moment and see what they are mirroring to us, then we can really look at what we need to heal within ourselves. And so they help us to grow and really develop and nourish ourselves from that perspective. So that has been, changing my perspective to that has affected me immensely in my life and helped me to be more accepting and more happier as a result. So, and then the third thing is really the greatest gift I feel like that we could give to our children is to be able to fully love and accept who we are, so that we can then model and teach to them how to love and accept themselves. And then they go through life feeling confident and good about themselves and accepting themselves no matter where they are in every moment. So those are sort of my three big philosophies that mindfulness really helped me to accept in my life, and that have then helped me to be a much more accepting and calmer parent. So that's sort of from a big picture perspective. Now, getting to the nitty gritty and the daily aspects of like, how do you, I have a child with special needs. He's energetically super sensitive. He'll mirror back to me what I'm feeling a lot. He also won't accept when I'm not in the present moment. He, to some people would call it, he's defiant, but he's very much knows what he wants and doesn't want, which is a good thing, as long as I can accept that. And then really, so he is a super anxious kid. So it's constantly, helping him through all of his challenges that he's having as well. So on a practical level, the things that I really have learned along the way that I try to bring into my everyday is, one, if he's having a meltdown and he's really lashing out or crying or upset about something, the first thing I do is try to really tune into what's going on inside of me. Because oftentimes I find that day, say I'm concerned about, or I'm being hard on myself and I'm concerned about, I haven't gotten as much done as I wanted to get done today. And I'm feeling this sort of inner turmoil and stress, and I'm not willing to look at it. He will often have a meltdown over the littlest thing. And I could look at it as, okay, what's going on with you? Why are you having this behavior? But if I tune into myself and my energy and I go, oh, okay, he's sensing this from me. And then as soon as I acknowledge that in myself, I notice that he is able to calm down then. It's fascinating in the moment.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it is really fascinating. It took me a long, long time to really get that. but I read this book, Awesomism by Susie Miller. She's a therapist in the autism world, and then became very spiritual. And then she wrote a book on the energy of these kids and how they're so tuned in, and that helped me to really understand my child a lot better, and
Yes.
not to look at him as, what's wrong with him? He's broken, but actually, my goodness, he is the Zen master. He is so wise, and he is telling me, you got something you're not dealing with. You better look inside yourself and work on that. So not always easy, but definitely that's, in the moment where, I look at that. And then the second thing is really, and I call acceptance practice. So like in the moment when he is having a lot of emotions or meltdowns, or, he won't do something. And it's really to fully accept what he's presenting with. So to be in full acceptance, validating his emotions, that he has the right to feel what he's feeling. And so, like in our own mindfulness practice, our thoughts come in, we accept them, our emotions come up, we accept them. So this is mindfulness to me in the moment where I'm fully accepting his emotions, naming them, helping him to name it. Because often kids with needs, they can't express what they're feeling, and they have a really hard time with that, and that frustrates them a lot. So as a parent, to help him name it and to say, it's okay for you to feel this. You're allowed to feel this. This is, part of your expression. I find that he calms down so much faster in the moment, because he's able to then acknowledge that, oh, okay, I am feeling this. And yes, it's okay for me to feel this. So for me to validate him is validating his authenticity of who he is, versus me saying, oh, come on, trying to get to a solution very quickly. I allow us to just be with it, accept it. And then normally it processes way faster that way, versus if I'm in resistance to it, then what you resist persists, his emotions will persist, I will escalate, so that really I find is super helpful in the moment, to just be in full acceptance. And then he is able to move on way faster and come up with his own solution. So,
Interesting.
yeah, so fascinating, versus where I'm like, okay, well, why are you getting angry? And then going straight to the thoughts, versus being with the emotion first. And sometimes, again, and that's another strategy I have, where I help him to understand his worry thoughts, because he has a lot of worry thoughts. And so we do the Dan Siegel's Wheel of Awareness from his book, The Whole Brain Child. I help him to notice, when he's in a calmer state, and we work through the emotions, to really go, okay, what's the worry thought that brought this up? And then let's look at this worry thought. And then let's look at all the other things in your awareness on this wheel. And here we are focusing on this worry thought, making it something so big, when there's all these other really awesome things that are happening too. And so from here, we have choice. And how can we now choose what we really want to focus on that will make us happier in our day?
Wow.
So I found that is a huge practice. Actually, I use that with clients too, some younger clients of mine, and they find it immensely helpful to get out of they're stuck, the stuck brain. Like kids on the spectrum, they get stuck a lot, and they're constantly in a loop. So I find that the first prong is really be with the emotion and allow them to process it, and the second prong is work with sort of the thought that came up that caused him to go into the worry, and then help him work through that and make a choice to focus on something else that could help him more. Yeah, so I have a few other things. Would you like me to continue sharing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
This is incredibly helpful.
Okay, so the other thing is, as I said, like I think I mentioned before, but really practicing self-compassion in the moment. Because sometimes, you're in a moment, there are moments where my son will go and he'll, he's so frustrated with his emotions that he'll like want to throw something or bang against something, and sometimes I don't know what to do in those moments. And, I feel like as parents, we always feel like what am I going to do? What am I going to do? What am I going to do? You know, and getting in that, I need to do something. And what I find that is surprisingly and amazingly helpful is in those moments, I use Dr. Kristen Neff's self-compassion approach, where I put my hand on my heart and I say, okay, this is a moment of suffering, and this is hard. I don't know what to do. And I just tune into what I'm feeling in that moment. And modeling that, you know, for my child as well. And then I find also that helps him to come back to regulated state more quickly, because I'm in heart coherence and I'm emanating that energy. And then if I'm holding that space, then he's able to come into my space more easily. And all of this sounds, you know, to many parents, like, really, that's it? Like, it's that simple? And that's what I thought too, that I have to have these behavior tips and tricks and, you know, how do I get my child to do this, this, and this? But so much of it is really coming into the present moment, tuning into what I'm feeling, tuning into what he's feeling, allowing us to express authentically what we're feeling. And then everything downgrades from there, and we're, you know, we can move forward from there.
Absolutely.
So that's like a huge practice that I've, you know, brought in the last few years, that has helped me immensely, because I am by far not a perfect parent, and I have my moments of anger and rage, and that I'm not proud of. But I know that if I go down that cycle, that rabbit hole of resisting my emotions, and then getting super angry as a result, and then after being in guilt, and then shame, and that cycle, and then wanting to disconnect myself from my child, that is very scary to my child. So for me to connect to myself in the moment helps him to connect to himself, and then helps us to connect to each other. And it's really quite powerful. Like, it's just amazing. You know, my husband often watches us, the whole, you know, the interaction of how it all unfolds, as, you know, as he's learning. He's very into mindfulness and stuff too. But it is fascinating that as I've changed my approach, that how things have really changed with my son. And then my son ends up feeling so much better about himself, you know, instead of me yelling and screaming, saying, what's wrong with you? Why are you doing this? And wanting him to change who he is. It's a full practice of acceptance of both of us in the moment, and going with the flow of where it leads us, which often leads us to a resolution very quickly, versus if I was like, if you do this, then I'm going to, you know, not take away your computer. And, you know, like Dr. Shefali has, her teachings have taught me immensely about the consequences part, and how it doesn't totally make sense. So that's sort of how I've really brought it in. And like the biggest takeaway for me, for my own journey, for my husband's journey that I've seen him go through, from all my clients that I work with, and my child, of how hard and painful it is for us to really own the truth of who we are. And it's shocking, but it's so true. And what helps, what I find, what helps clients have breakthroughs, what's helped me have breakthroughs, is to be able to be seen and witnessed in my most vulnerable state, and be loved and accepted in that state. So imagine, like, as a parent, to be able to do that for your child. So if as an adult, when we are in therapy or in coaching, or just in a relationship, speaking to, you know, your husband or your friend, where you can truly express your most vulnerable self and see the love and the acceptance through the other person's eyes, and how much that lifts your, you know, vibration, your energy so incredibly, and how from there you can accomplish so much more, because you've felt the truth, you've had somebody mirror to you that they love and accept you, even in your most vulnerable state. So as parents, I feel like that's probably the biggest gift I can give my child is if I can fully love and accept him in his most vulnerable states, in his darkest moments, and mirror that to him, then that will help him to fully love and accept himself and own who he is, and then end up becoming, you know, a more authentic and more confident person going out into the world. So that's my that's my piece.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, Afshan. Honestly, I mean, it's so many important lessons that you were able to illustrate, and you really walk the walk. And you're right, like when our children have special needs, they're not putting up with anything less than our full selves. And this is the thing, that they're not as flexible with going with someone else's flow, right? In terms of, you want me to do this and I'm not there, and you're not there, and we're not going forward, right?
Yeah.
But what's really so powerful about what you had to share is the power of connection.
Yes.
Right? The
That's
connection to
huge.
self and connection to someone else. And you can only do that in presence, in a genuine way. And the power that has in the moment, but also building that resiliency and the ability to listen. And that is the gift that we give our kids. You're absolutely right.
Completely. And, you know, it's a constant everyday journey, but the more I find I practice it, the more happier I am, you know, and about myself and about my life. And it's really mindfulness meditation in the moment, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. This is a lifestyle.
Right. And, you know, I've realized that the more we accept, the more we thrive. And oftentimes we feel like if we accept and we surrender, we're giving up, but we're not really. In fact, you get more strength and more energy to do all that you want to do, you know, because the doing part is important too.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
there's so much resistance built up unless we can be in full acceptance all the time, you know, as much as we can in life. Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
especially with our children.
Ashen, this was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your journey with us, and the things that you learned along the way, the teachings that have impacted you, and how you put them into practice in your daily life with yourself and with your family. I'm wondering if there was one takeaway that you would love for parents to try, take on, that they could action today, to really have a big impact on themselves and their families. What would that
I
be?
think the biggest takeaway is to really do your own work and tune in to what you haven't fully healed within yourself. Because as you heal that, your children will also heal, because they will feel that from you, they will learn that from you. And so it's really parenting. We think it's so much about doing everything for our child and all the things that we do. But your child is going to remember so much more the way you made them feel, and the way you made versus what you did for them. And the way you make them feel is really about the way that you feel inside. And so it really starts with yourself. And so that would be, you know, my biggest wish for all parents, that they really do their own inner work and heal all of their childhood wounds and things that they weren't, you know, that they're not, that haven't fully resolved in their own life, so that they can be give the most love and compassion to their children.
Yes, absolutely. Ashen, thank you so much for this. This was
Thank you.
absolutely wonderful, and wishing you all the best as you continue to grow and thrive individually and with your family.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure and an honor. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Take care.